This is the ultimate camera shootout of Samsung Galaxy S22 versus Samsung Galaxy S23 Fan Edition. Is it better to buy the older S22 or the newer Fan Edition? Let's go to work. Let's start with color profile and saturation, and both of these phones exhibit the same color profile. There's just a difference of 1.5 years. Most of its components are the same. Together with the software Scene Optimizer, you will find a lot of similarities on both phones. Samsung Galaxy S22 was released February of 2022, while Samsung Galaxy S23 Fan Edition was just released late 2023. I noticed that the colors on Samsung Galaxy S23 Fan Edition is a little bit stronger than Galaxy S22. If you look at the sky, the yellows, the reds, the greens, in some situation, not all, Galaxy S23 FE is more vivid. While the older Samsung Galaxy S22 is brighter and the colors are milder than S23 Fan Edition, you will definitely see this on the sky. The color blue is not as dark as the one you can see on the S23 Fan Edition in most cases, and generally the colors are brighter. The exposure also affects the white balance of the photos, as S23 Fan Edition is a little bit warmer because of that. Checking the specification, the older Samsung Galaxy S22 has a 50 megapixel main sensor with a big 1/1.56 inch sensor. That's almost the same as Galaxy S23 FE. It has a dual face detection autofocus and OIS. It has triple camera setup with a 10 megapixel telephoto zoom. It has 3x optical zoom with face detection autofocus and OIS, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide with super steady video. Wrapping up the hardware is a 10 megapixel selfie with dual face detection autofocus. The rear camera can shoot 8K 24 FPS video, while the selfie can shoot up to 4K 60 FPS. While the newer Samsung Galaxy S23 Fan Edition has the same triple camera setup with 50 megapixel main sensor, only has a regular face detection autofocus and OIS, a smaller 8 megapixel resolution of telephoto also with 3x optical zoom, again with face detection autofocus and OIS, and a regular 12 megapixel ultra wide. I think it has the same selfie camera of 10 megapixel, and like S22, the rear camera can shoot up to 8K 24 FPS video, while the selfie can shoot up to 4K 60 FPS. Going back to the image comparison test, I feel like if you don't know what phone it is hard to differentiate S22 or S23 Fan Edition. I guess the dead giveaway on the main sensor is S22 will produce brighter images than S23 Fan Edition. And looking at all three sensors from the ultra-wide, wide, and 3x optical zoom, colors are consistent on both phones. Samsung Galaxy S23 FE manages the flaring better, while Samsung Galaxy S22 has brighter optical zoom. This is Samsung Galaxy S22 in 8K 24 FPS. This is an older phone compared to Samsung Galaxy S23 Fan Edition. The advantage of this phone is it is smaller than S23 Fan Edition. So if you like a compact phone, then this is a perfect phone for you. Let's talk about portrait mode, and both phones produces really good portrait mode, especially the subject separation or cutout. Anyone who likes a highly filtered photo, something that you would post right away on social media without editing, these two phones might be the perfect camera phones for you. Samsung phones are known to have filtering in auto mode, so if you open the camera app, both phones will shoot filtered photos that you can post right away on social media. There are three things that differentiate Galaxy S22 to S23 Fan Edition. First is the contrast. You will notice the Galaxy S22 has better contrast, stronger contrast than S23 Fan Edition. You would see this on the hair and the eyes and the black shirt. Also, if you look at the hair of my wife, you would see on a lot of cases, Galaxy S22 cuts out the hair better than S23 Fan Edition. Although it's older, we could still say that this is a flagship phone that produces flagship caliber images. And lastly is the white balance. S22 is a bit warmer than Samsung Galaxy S23 FE. Good thing about the new S23 Fan Edition is the focal length. You can shoot 1x, 2x, and 3x, while you can only shoot 1x and 3x on the older S22. Looking at the selfie portrait shots, I think both phones will produce the same image. I just noticed that S22 is a bit brighter than S23 FE in some shots. Night shot feature is also exceptional on both phones. I would say that these two phones are premium flagship phones, especially on the price point. Both phones are probably sold at the same price, so it's just a matter of those nitty-gritty things on the camera features. I should say when Samsung Galaxy S22 was released, phones before are tuned to expose the environment better, and that's what S22 is doing on its night shot. Also, the white balance could be playing a big part in exposure. While Samsung Galaxy S23 Fan Edition, I feel like it's leaning towards the new night shot, like what you can see on the iPhones and Pixel phones. The shadows are a bit darker, but it tends to highlight that it's a nighttime over a very exposed dark scene. I should say the colors are better on S22 like what you would see on the grass and some of the houses and even the sky. But I think the newer S23 FE is doing a marvelous job managing the flaring better. Mind you, on this comparison test, the lenses are cleaned out, but S22 has this strong linear flaring, I guess coming from the design of the camera module. But again, just nitpicking these two phones, I believe that these two phones will produce great night shots depending on your preference. This is the new Samsung Galaxy S23 Fan Edition in 8K 24 FPS. The advantage of this phone over S22 is the screen is larger and it has a better battery life than Samsung Galaxy S22. Let's talk about flaring and looking at the three sensors from the ultra-wide, regular wide, and 3x optical zoom. All of them has linear flaring, but I think on the night shots, S22 has stronger linear flare compared to S23 Fan Edition. In terms of highlights, if the scene optimizer kicks in and use the HDR shot, both of them will produce similar looking HDR photo that provides information on strong light source. Both of these phones has closer focus on the main sensor, although there's no macro feature, but you can always use the 3x optical zoom and punched in, and you would get similar looking macro shots using the 3x optical zoom. Talking about sharpness, both phones are tack sharp from the ultra wide, regular wide, and 3x optical zoom, and both of them has 30x optical zoom too that have really sharp output. And lastly, details. If you zoom in on the branch of the tree, I would say that both phones has the same level of details on a 12 megapixel JPEG. If you look on the shadows, it's a little bit brighter on S22, but that's about it. So this is the image test of Samsung Galaxy S22 and S23 Fan Edition. Just a difference in night shot and flaring. Now let's talk about the video test from the stabilization, zoom, and low light. Alright, let's start with the stabilization test, and this is the ultra-wide lens in 4K 30 FPS. I think both phones are almost the same, just a difference in color of the sky, but the stabilization and everything else are close. Next test is the main sensor, again 4K 30 FPS, and you can definitely feel a little bit jittery on the newer S23 Fan Edition. The stabilization on the older Galaxy S22 is much better. And lastly, on the rear camera, the 3x optical zoom, and like the ultra-wide lens, I think the stabilization on both phones are almost the same on the ultra-wide and 3x optical zoom. This is the selfie video recording in 4K 60 FPS, the maximum you can get on a selfie shootout. And again, both phones have the same stabilization, just a difference in contrast, darker on the new S23 FE. Now we're testing the video zoom capability, and if you crop in 30x digital, both has the same video quality. This is the slow motion test, and the older S22 is having a little bit of colors on the dried grass. And this is the super slow motion test. I think it's almost identical, just a difference in color of the sky. This is the cinematic mode or the portrait mode of both phones, and Samsung is producing one of the best portrait videos on a smartphone. And lastly, low light video. I think both phones are jittery at times. Some frame rates were skipped while panning. Galaxy S22 has stronger flaring, while Galaxy S23 FE is warmer than the older S22. So this is the ultimate camera shootout of Samsung Galaxy S22 versus Samsung Galaxy S23 Fan Edition. Two great camera phones early 2024. I mean, S24 is around the corner, but if you need a reliable smartphone, any of these two phones will do. In terms of camera performance, both phones are really close. I think it's just a matter of asking yourself if you like a more compact phone like Galaxy S22, and in terms of camera performance, if you like better exposed photos. Well, everything else from the bigger screen, better battery life, and newer design, if you like a stronger contrast photo, Samsung Galaxy S23 FE is the right phone for you. And there you go, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll continue to compare these two phones in our channel, so stay tuned. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.